I'm Glenn Toby, and you're watching The Flex.
What's up, it's your girl DC, you're watching The Flex. Again, another week's worth of interviews with the finest in the city. This week we've got none other than hip-hop pioneer, philanthropist, sports agent, help me list them. He's got his fingers in so many different pies, he probably doesn't even remember. Listen, we've got Glenn Toby here this evening with us. What's going on, sir? How are you?
Good, glad to be here in Dubai on The Flex. Just trying to enjoy the city, the nightlife.
I know, bright lights, big city.
Bright lights, big city, good culture, great music, and better people.
Wicked. Listen, tell us your story. Tell me, who is Glenn Toby? For those of you who don't know, if you haven't Googled him already, tell us who is Glenn Toby. Tell us your story, because you've got a very interesting story to tell.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. In Queens, I was one of the pioneers of hip hop. I came out of the neighborhood that Hollis, Queens, which would be Hollis, Queens Village area, which you would know, Run DMC, Russell Simmons, then of course LL Cool J, so too many to name. And
with whom you were involved with?
Whom I was very much involved with. I went by the name of Sweetie G, and I used to rap with Dougie Fresh, Biz Markie, the great DJ groups, and there's actually a documentary out called.
Are you gonna drop something for us tonight?
Maybe tonight we might do something. You know, those are the roots, those hip hop roots. You know, that was with Mike and Dave, and I worked with some of the greatest people in hip hop. I discovered Positive K, one of my favorite rappers, and a dear friend of mine, and you know, it's emerged from that to managing LL Cool J with friends out of my neighborhood, there was this whole Queens connection to going on and doing sports management and representation, agenting and building. And
tell us about that transition. How do you transition from being, a hip hop artist, being so embedded in that scene, from where it rooted, not just somebody who decided to want to rap, from where hip hop rooted, to going into becoming one of the most successful philanthropists today. And getting involved in things such as charity and sports management. You manage some of the biggest names in sports, especially in NFL today. Tell us about that transition. Where did that transition start for you?
Well, I think I'm a songwriter. I think I'm a songwriter artist by nature, even as a rapper. So what happened when I saw Curtis Blow, Sugar Hill, and all that stuff started to take off, a lot of those guys had different type of deals. They had to give 100% of their publishing up.
Right.
I had a family to watch after, my mother, my grandmother. I had a baby sister, a brother, so I stayed close to my community. And I was in the time where Queens was one of the biggest crack times, Fat Cat, Carly, Pappy Mason, Furtado Brothers. So we were in that emergence, tremendous amount of money being made. A monster called hip hop was just moving around. It was a culture shift. So at that time, I realized that I had to do something else in between, because I would not have that massive hit record like the Cool J's and many of the other artists had. But obviously, I put seeds in hip hop. As a pioneer, I contributed to it. So I got heavily involved in business. I could take care of myself, my family. Started writing songs. I ended up writing a big song for Sybil called "You're the Love of My Life."
Okay.
From there, I did a lot of house music as Cultural Vibe, Mafumbe, Mind Games, just staying in the music. And then at one point, I discovered David Banner, who was in Crooked Letters, and that's before David really took off. And I met a brother by the name of Alonzo Shavers, who was a sports agent, a registered rep. I was doing the management marketing side. We merged the company, ended up representing over 40 to 50 players, either consulting, agenting, from Damian Robinson to Josh Evans to Asante Samuel, who we got over $60 million for.
Wow.
So I joined the firm as an investor. That grew, and then from there, I continued to manage artists, and here we are.
Wicked. And what do you prefer? Do you feel like your heart is still in the music, and your mind is in the business? Is that how you feel?
Wow, that's nice. Yeah, my heart's in the music. I'd say my heart's in the music, my mind is in the business, my soul is in philanthropy, which is the Book Bank Foundation. And it's heart, mind, and my body's brought this whole piece together to be.
How do you feel about Dubai's music industry? Because you've been here a couple of times now, and you've dabbled a bit in the industry here. From what you've seen, what are your thoughts on the industry and where it's at, and kind of what advice do you give it for its growth? Because it has a lot of growing to do. The artists here, there's some great artists out here, but they have a lot of growing to do as well in order to compete with anybody on the global or international market.
Well, I think the emerging technologies, emerging markets are a good chance for artists. Artists right now, those of you at home in these regions have to be true to your art, do as much research as you can, develop your skills. If you don't like singing, you're not a singer by nature, understand theory. There's so many different types of software. There's so many disruptive programs that can help you sell your music. Learn your rights and the laws, and it's going to happen. There's going to be a shift. Technology is the new hip hop. And when they both come to the end of the end, there will be a new beginning. You're going to get this new hip hop with this new technology. They're going to merge to become one. There's so many different software programs. There's so many different pioneers who are pioneering in these different paradigms, whether it's selling products, whether it's selling merchandise, and all these different spaces that people are able to collectively put their talent out there. Don't chase the money will chase you. Just cultivate your talent and plug into people like Flex. I mean, your brand, as I've seen it grow, I remember when Issa Malik was running around talking about this brand, telling me how amazing you were. I used to watch you on the YouTube channels. I used to look at some of the interesting things you were doing because you had so many different pieces to what your vision was. And now that has become a brand, an actual real brand. So people that support you as you're supporting them, it's going to help the region. I ran into this amazing group, The Recipe.
Yes, we're going to talk about them, who you kind of came into the market and snatched up.
Yeah, they're doing it. They remind me of a throwback to back in our times when music was about just good lyrics, good rhymes, and hard work.
Right. So for those who don't know, Recipe is a well-known rap group, hip-hop group from here in Dubai. If you don't know them, get to know them. Go look them up. Google them. Google him. Why do you feel like it took somebody from outside or from outside of the region basically to recognize people like The Recipe and pick them up and be able to take their career to the next level?
Well, I think in the beginning of hip hop, everything was in-house and it starts to emerge from its beginning. So if you look at, I started with Positive K. I produced his first record. Managed him first. He left Queens and went to Brooklyn, went to Nat Robinson, who had MC Light, Milk, and those guys. So he left me and went to a little bit further from Queens, went to Brooklyn. Okay. So sometimes there's somebody else in a different space than you are, that where you're going, they kind of lock into what you need, right? So if you just sit in one space, spiritually, a lot of people see things the same, or there's just so much confusion. It takes somebody with a fresh idea or a fresh space or different understanding to add to the ingredient that you need to become the recipe. So that's how we found each other. You know what I mean? And I'm glad. Tony Jackson's been working with them, and they were on his radar. And Tony runs our music division and sports division over here in the Middle East and throughout Europe. And
Tony.
Yeah, Tony told me about him. I saw him, and we just stuck together. And we've been working on projects.
Wicked. And where do you look to take The Recipe? Because first of all, let me say I think we need, or Dubai needs, because like I said, Dubai has so much talent. That's why we started the Flex in the first place. We want to expose that talent. And we're happy that people like you have come to kind of pick up artists like that. It's a little bit discouraging in terms of looking at the people who are based here and don't recognize the talent. But I think we need more people like you to come from outside with that fresh view, the fresh ideas, the professionalism, the history and the knowledge to pick up some of these artists and take them to where they deserve to be. So tell us where you look to take The Recipe.
It's interesting you said it. I think in today's marketplace and where music is today, somebody that's representing an act, whether it's a record company or a manager, I think it's not fair. I don't think it's realistic for somebody to say where they can take that artist, because there's so many different spaces. There are internet opportunities, there's touring opportunities, there's branding opportunities, and there's fusion opportunities. People that create video games or come up with concepts and they're selling a product. So nobody knows where an artist is really going. So my concept is, instead of taking the artist to where they're going, is to connect the artist with themselves so that they have every aspect of what they have. So if the wind blows them, or the spirit or the opportunity or the challenge or the platform, whatever comes, that they're going to be well put together to go where they're supposed to go.
Right.
So I don't think you know, the old traditional system of signing an artist, locking them in, getting a piece of everything they're doing, reshaping them, controlling and owning them works. You put a fingerprint on it,
Right.
you know, you become a part of the process, and it becomes organic. Because today, you know, with these big budgets that used to exist years ago, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, very
Now,
true.
inversely, an artist can make more money independently. So if an artist sells 10,000 records in 2 quarters, he made more money than if he sold potentially 500,000 records.
Right.
Right? Because you have recoupment, you have expenses,
Exactly.
and this is a great opportunity. There are going to be more people that have more success to a lesser degree than more people who have less success
Right.
to a greater degree.
Make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow him at Glenn Toby.
Yeah.
That's with 2 N's. Follow us. Subscribe to us at How We Flex on every platform. This was The Flex.
Yeah.
This is Glenn Toby. And that's it.